Hey there, and welcome back to Utility Sports. In today's video, we have some breaking news. Steve Clifford from the Orlando Magic has been fired. But before we get into that, please subscribe if you do enjoy our NBA content. We're constantly talking about it through the season, off-season, NBA draft. We cover everything you need to know about the NBA. But Sheldon, let's get right into it. What do you think overall about this firing? I mean, he's made the playoffs with them 2 out of the 3 years. And then in that third year, obviously he had no success just because of his roster. He had a lot of injuries, and then they decided to trade away the rest of the pieces that really mattered. So what do you think about this firing?
Yeah, this is actually kind of surprising here that they are parting ways together, because you're looking at a team that I think has over exceeded their expectations since Steve Clifford's gotten brought in from the Charlotte Hornets when he first came to Orlando. I didn't think they really ever had a playoff roster, to be completely honest. You're looking at a team that was starting DJ Augustine for a little while at point guard. We haven't seen a lot of him lately. And this year is just a very tough season. They went 21-51, but at the deadline, they decided to move on from Nikola Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, and Evan Fournier. That's 3 of their 5 starters normally. And you also are looking at your other 2 normal starters being out, in Jonathan Isaac and Markelle Fultz. This is a tough year for the Orlando Magic. They were brutal down the stretch. And you're looking at an Orlando Magic team that has a lot to build forward. They've got 2 likely top 10 picks, assuming the Bulls pick does not go into the top 3 selections because of its protections from the trade with the Chicago Bulls. And the Magic, they need to do a lot of building at. I don't think Steve Clifford was really part of the problem. I think he's kind of an underrated coach. I think in league circles, he's going to find himself an assistant head coaching job somewhere very quickly this offseason. I also think he could be a candidate to end up on Portland's bench if they hire a new head coach. There's a lot of different places for Steve Clifford in this league yet. I think he'll be a head coach at some point again. Orlando just decided to go into a different direction. Complete overhaul in this roster. They're going to be a team to watch this offseason, I think, making a lot of moves and really trying to jockey themselves in draft position as well. Lottery is going to be really big for them. Steve Clifford wasn't part of the problem, but they're going to go with a younger approach here, I think.
Yeah, so kind of getting into the next steps. Obviously, they're going to reconstruct the roster, but the more important thing here is who is going to be the next coach of the Orlando Magic. There's a couple of candidates that really stick out, but it already kind of looks like they are, finding spots. So is Orlando kind of at that spot where they're going to be that last option for one of the top tier head coaching candidates?
Yeah, I think they are one of the last options, just because looking at how young this roster is going to be. You've got your 2 best players coming off of serious ACL injuries. You also have just going to be a young roster in general. They're not ready to compete quite yet. They're going to be a bottom 3 team out in the East for the next year or 2 probably at this point. Although there's going to be a lot of potential moving forward. They're young. They can build together. But it's going to be a tough challenge for a coach. A lot of the other teams are going to be more sexy positions, especially looking at Portland now with their opening. That's where Chauncey Billups and or Jason Kidd are going to end up landing, probably either together as head coach, assistant head coach, or possibly just one of them landing there as well. Portland's going to be the top market this offseason. I also think some other places that could open up, especially the Indiana Pacers, if Nate Bjorkgren does end up getting fired and they move on from him. I think that they're a pretty interesting location at this point. But for the Orlando Magic here, there's a few different candidates I would like to talk about that I think would be really good fits onto this roster, especially with how young they are. David Vanterpool, who just got let go by the Timberwolves, will not be back on Chris Finch's staff next year. I think he would be an interesting fit. A lot of people have been talking about him as a head coaching candidate for a while. People thought he would be the guy to supplant Ryan Saunders when they made that move during the season. Of course, it ended up being Finch, but I think Vanterpool makes some sense. Jeff Van Gundy, I think, would be a phenomenal coach here. I think he's one of the smartest men in basketball, to be completely honest with you, because of the way he looks at the game, the way he interacts with players, builds those relationships. Doesn't have the most playoff success, but Orlando is not going to be looking for that at this point. They're looking for someone to help develop these players. I think Van Gundy would be perfect for that. And also another guy to watch is Terry Stotts. I think he's an underrated head coach as well. Portland, they've had, of course, Damian Lillard, but the rest of that roster, you're not really looking at another star player there. He's gotten a lot of Jusuf Nurkic, and a big thing there for the Orlando Magic would be seeing if Terry Stotts can help develop Wendell Carter Jr., who they brought in through the Vucevic trade. I think that could make a lot of sense as well for Orlando.
Yes, I think there are some really, really good candidates still for them. Terry Stotts seems like he might be the best fit for this team. Obviously, had some great success with the Portland Trailblazers, and a lot of times they exceeded expectations. So you really got to like the fit potentially with Terry Stotts and the Magic. Any more concluding thoughts on this move?
This is just, it's going to be tough for the Orlando Magic. Orlando Magic fans, you guys are going to have some patience, honestly, with this roster, with this rebuild. There's a lot to kind of unhinge here. I think that they made the right decision selling at the deadline and kind of liquidating some of their assets while they still could. But for Orlando, you're going to be probably not a good team for 2-3 years yet at this point. You have to be patient with this franchise. You've got some young guards. Jonathan Isaac coming back healthy will be big for you guys. And hopefully we see Wendell Carter and or Mo Bamba really excel as a center. Hopefully you guys did enjoy today's video. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up. That would mean a lot to us here at Utility Sports. Also subscribe if you are new. We do a lot of NBA mock drafts on the channel. So if you're an Orlando Magic fan, there's a lot for you guys to see coming forward on the channel. Thanks again so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the very next video.